When I planned my series answering your sunscreen question, I will link it up there in case you are interested, there was one question I did not anticipate. What is the best way to reapply sunscreen over a full face of makeup? So I did my research and came up with 5 ways to touch up your sun protection when wearing a full face of makeup. Hi! I'm Dr. Anne. I'm a medical doctor with a passion for skincare that works. On this channel we explore the science behind skin and do quick reviews so you learn to pick exactly those products that work for your individual skin concern. So if this is something you're interested in, please consider subscribing and ring the notification bell. There are 3 things to consider before we go into these 5 ways to reapply sunscreen though. All of them are meant to touch up your sunscreen throughout a regular workday. They are not meant to protect you when you're spending time at the beach or hiking. If you do that, you really need to apply a thick layer of waterproof sunscreen, no matter how uncomfortable. But I hope you're not wearing a full face of makeup to the beach. Anyway, I know I don't. And in order to be able to reapply, you need to have a good base, which means that the first sunscreen application of the day is of course absolutely important. It needs to have a high protection factor, be broad spectrum, and you need to apply enough of it. What that actually means is covered in my other videos, but keep in mind that this first layer determines how well your protection will be throughout the day. You can't build a strong wall on a faulty foundation. And third, yes, if you apply sunscreen, which is meant to be a film former on top of the sweat and makeup and dirt that already accumulated on your face until then, it will increase the risk of breakouts and clogged pores. But breakouts don't happen within a few hours, so a good cleansing routine should help with that. I've shared my thoughts on double cleansing here, but in the sweaty summer month when I reapply sunscreen over makeup several times a day is when I actually recommend you do it. With that out of the way, here are 5 ways to reapply your sunscreen over makeup, listed from my least favorite to the best one I found, so make sure you stay tuned till the end. First, if you're only wearing a light base. This one actually feels a little like cheating, but as it is the one I use most frequently, I know I needed to include it. In the summertime, I go for a light base, usually only a powder foundation to even up my skin tone a little and take away extra shine. Does it conceal all my imperfections and make my skin look flawless? No, but I have grown into my skin enough to be not bothered by that. Most powder foundations tend to lose their coverage after 4 hours on my skin anyway, so this is the perfect opportunity to touch up. And with such a light base, it's actually very easy to just squeeze out a bit of lightweight and hydrating sunscreen, my current favorite one being the Biore UV Aqua Rich SPF 50, as it feels more like a moisturizer than a sunscreen. I just rub it all over my face, wait for it to sink in, apply my powder foundation on top, maybe add a little bit of my cream blush, keep all 3 products in my purse. The second one is spray on sunscreen. Sunscreen sprays aren't new, and I've used quite a few different ones in the past, like the one from Bioderma or the one from Pixi. While they are incredibly convenient, they do have a few downsides that you need to be aware of. First, you need to make sure that the spray actually reaches your face, which is more difficult the finer the mist is. A less fine mist though, leaving out the less comfortable feel they have, has a tendency to give uneven protection as it applies blobs of sunscreen to your face rather than an even layer. So actually the best way to apply them would be a spritz a good amount into your hands and then pat that on your face, which then is probably the same as applying a cream or a lotion. Second thing is, many of them contain alcohol to make them light enough to spritz, which can sting your eyes when sprayed directly, so close them when you mist your face. Oh, and make also sure you do not inhale. Sunscreen is not meant to be breathed in, it is safety tested for topical application on your skin. Another reason why you should probably rather pat them in than spray them on. The third is, and that's true for all of them, to get the promised sun protection factor you need to apply a lot, which means that to get a good amount of protection you will really need to drench your face in it. Their main advantage though is their convenience, which is why despite their disadvantages I reach for them myself. The third is powder sunscreens. If you're already a fan of powder foundations, why not use a powder sunscreen? A question that I asked myself recently, given my preference for powder products in summer. It is of course more for those of us that don't crave dewiness, that is borderline oily, or that suffer from dry patches, but if you are anything like me, your face glows like a beacon in summer anyway. My first and so far only experience with the sunscreen powders though was pretty disappointing. I found a part of the Istine sunscreen powder in my mother's stash, nicked it, and was actually really disappointed with the results, probably because it is tinted, and given that my mother is about 2 to 3 shades darker than me, quite noticeable on my skin if I apply a generous amount. And of course, again, a generous amount is needed for reasonable protection. It is also important to not breathe in the powder should they do have a lot of kickback. But putting aside my own less than stellar experiences, they are easy to take with you, you can assure an even application, and they help combat shine through sweat. So let me know your recommendations in the comments below, I would love to try some. The fourth option are sunscreen cushions. As I venture more into the Korean beauty sphere, it's hard to not stumble upon cushion anything. And even outside of K-beauty, cushion would ever get more and more popular. I reviewed a cushion foundation by Dior back in 2017, and I believe even Avon has jumped on the cushion bandwagon right now. Sunscreen cushions sound perfect. They are as convenient to lug around as a powder would be, they are suitable for all skin types, even dry ones, and they make it easier to get even coverage. You can get them both tinted and clear, but while I love the idea of the clear ones, most of them have a noticeable white cast, which stems from two things. First, they usually use only mineral filters, which due to their structure are much more likely to let you look way paler than you are. And second, many of the companies creating them still buy into the idea that lighter skin is more beautiful, so instead of trying to formulate a way around the white cast, they name it as benefit in their advertising. Even on my more pale skin, that white cast shows up ever so slightly, so people with deeper skin tones would probably struggle to make them work. With the tinted one, of course, there's the need to find one that matches your skin. Most of them are pretty sheer in coverage, but again, you need a reasonable amount to come close to the protection on the label, so you will need to build them up quite a bit. The one I purchased for testing this method is the Dear Claire's Mochi BB Cushion Pack. Thank you to Ju Kim for telling me how to pronounce the name correctly, and I really enjoy it for touch-ups before I go out for lunch or meet someone, basically whenever I want to look fresh and put together. The finish is a tad bit dewy for my personal taste, but that is nothing a bit of powder can't fix. Let me know in the comments if you want me to film a dedicated foundation review on it. I used to do quite a few of them back in the days. And lastly, my favorite method. When I did my research on cushion foundations, I came across a video by Gothamista in which she shows it how to DIY a cushion compact using your favorite regular sunscreen. And that beautifully ties in with my last and favorite method, which I have seen done on YouTube and Instagram forever. All you need is an old-fashioned makeup sponge / cushion, not a beauty blender as they tend to absorb too much product, and your regular sunscreen, of which you apply a generous amount on the back of your hand and then dab, not drag it across your face. That way you not only get an even layer of protection, you also diffuse and refresh the makeup underneath, which makes it perfect for days when you wear a heavier base. And of course you get to use your favorite sunscreen, reducing the risk of adverse reactions or white cast. Again, you might need to touch up your blush and or bronzer afterwards, but that's a small price to pay for a perfect looking base with renewed sun protection, don't you think? Please tell me your favorite method or any tips on tricks I might have missed in the comments below. I will link to more videos I think you might enjoy on the screen now, and I'm going to see you all very soon with another one. Bye!